Welcome to Hero's Greedy Triple Air Layering of a elm. This is actually a Seijuan elm. It was a type of Hokkaido. But anyway, I had made this and it sat around for maybe 10 years or so. And doesn't seem like anybody's really interested in a Niwaki Seijuan elm. So I decided I'm going to make it smaller. And in the past, I have done air layering, and it's been fairly successful. Well, I don't think I've ever tried a triple off of one trunk. I have done triple off of different branches on junipers, but never had one like this. So anyway, I'm going to find out whether we've been successful or not. What we do is kind of take your finger and see if there's any roots. That usually works, except when you have weeds. Sometimes you're feeling the roots and then it turns out to be weeds. So this looks and feels like it's okay, but I could be wrong. Well, what I'm going to do is cut the top one first. And if that one hasn't been rooted, then I won't cut the other two. So let's get on with the show. Okay, this is the first part. I cut it loose. Okay, the big test now is if we pop this open, is it going to be success? Or maybe we should have waited, or it wasn't going to work at all. Let's see. See, these are the ones that throw you because the weeds had the roots in there. I don't think that was the weed. I think this was a root of the elm. But I'm feeling lucky. So yes, see, I could feel the roots in here. I don't want to expose so much that will end up damaging. So I'm going to put this into a container that's kind of standing up like that. A couple things we should do beforehand is to cut these back. Okay, now it may not be enough roots, and if you have a lot of foliage that comes out of dormancy and needs all that water and nutrients, it will tax it. So thin out the top and then put it in. But this one does feel good. So it's been cut back. Give a real good chance of success here. But don't get too excited. I've seen where from this point it could still fail. So this has to go into a well-protected area where there's not intense sunlight yet and away from wind, because these are not tied down and it's really hard to tie them down. So I'm going to put it in an area that it doesn't get any wind. So this next one, I'm feeling around and, well, I could feel roots in here. And this one has less weeds. So I'm pretty sure that's what these are, is the root from the elm. So I'll go ahead and cut this one out. Okay, the second one is cut off. Now let's see if we were successful or not. It's a big one. This too looks good. There's roots in here, not very heavy. So when I put it into a container, I'm going to be thinning out the top greatly. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I got this thing buried deep. Once again, it's for the stability. Eventually, we'll start removing the soil as it gets thicker root system, and then you'll be back to normal. But first of all, we got to get this thing to survive. And if you keep it shallow, especially with all this growth on top, bad things could happen. So I'm going to thin out this top next. When I say thin, I mean thin. The more branches you leave, the better chance of catching the wind and disturbing the roots that will be forming in the spring. So cut it back severely. You got to remember, Chinese elm will grow. You could get it down to the basic line and remove everything and it'll come right back. So think about, first of all, survival, and don't even think about styling at this point yet. Well, we're on a roll. It feels good. So I guess we'll go ahead and cut this off too. Okay, I got it cut off. Now the big test. Have we succeeded all three? Or is the third one a bust? You know, it always feels like Christmas when we do these. I think we've been lucky. Third success. You could see that there's roots forming here. You could see the roots. Very good indication, right? So I'm going to put this in a container and we'll say, whoo, we lucked out today. Nothing worse than starting to shoot these videos and find out things are not working right. Potting this one up was a little easier because it was in a 1 gallon that had more depth. So I put it in this 2 gallon with some fresh soil and it's fairly stable. But I'm still going to thin it out and we'll go from there. So at this point, don't even think about styling. It's too early. First, worry about did it truly succeed. I have a good feeling for it, but we never know till everything is back to growing and it fills that whole container full of very active roots. Okay, this is our mother plant and the 3 that came off of it. I think I better do a little bit of work on this mother plant and let me get back to you. Well, this concludes this project. Big root flare, big fat trunk. It needs styling, of course, because all the head got cut off. But that shouldn't take too much longer. And then we have 1, 2, 3. So we took one tree that was too big for most people and made it into 4. That is 4 of usable bonsai material. All I could say is, phew, I'm glad that this worked out. You know, you never know when starting, is it really going to work out or not? It would have been terrible if I cut them loose and found out there was no root. That's happened before in my other things, but today everything worked out. So the 3 that came off the top, from the right, that's the very top. The one in the middle was the middle, and then the one on the left was the closest to our main trunk. Anyway, I'm glad that it worked out, and hopefully you enjoy this little chapter. It's a follow-up because I think a lot of people were curious, is this triple air layering going to work? And evidently it did. So this is Hiro saying goodbye. I'll see you again in another chapter real soon. One comment, this pandemic got me really focused on making these videos. And because I'm making these videos and the response that I'm getting, it kind of pushes me to see if I could do something more interesting. If I weren't motivated by your comments and your compliments, I'm not even sure if I even try this triple air layering. So anyway, keep those good comments coming. And those of you that have no good thing to say, don't put it online. Anyway, I really thank you. And when you do comment, can you tell me what part of the not the United States, what part of the world you're from? Just curious. I'm just blown away by the fact that I'm reaching all over the world. Anyway, I'm very thankful that you're watching me, and I'll see you again real soon in another chapter.